When the cat's away, the mice come out to play. Sirwa and Chin have stated they will not return to compete for a championship this season, and thus the door is swung wide open. But the mice will find today's playground full of its own dangers. Long Beach is quickly developing a reputation on iRacing of gobbling up cars. Will it devour our mice, or will they get to enjoy their frivolity? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the PRL Indy Pro 2000 series. You'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Open wheel fans will no doubt recognize Long Beach, especially those from here in North America. But for the uninitiated, we have our handy track guide to show you around. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. This is perhaps one of the most beautiful new tracks that iRacing has added as well. There's just so much to look at around here, but even though you're familiar with this area and could point out some sightseeing, there's probably not enough time to do that with how fast-paced it's going to be in these cars, DJ.
No, this track is going to come at you very, very fast in these Indy Pro 2000s. And the trouble areas to really talk about, to keep an eye on, well, you can't go any further than Turn 10, the world-famous Long Beach hairpin. What makes it so tricky is that corner right before it, Turn 9, the Indy left. You're on the brakes trying to slow the car down right as you get into the hairpin. It makes it very, very difficult, and you've got to nail the exit coming out of 10 to take advantage of the #1 passing zone, diving all the way down into Turn 2. Other tricky areas to keep an eye on throughout the course of this race: Turn 3, the Dolphin Fountain, that little kink you see on the left of your screen. We may be able to see a little bit of passing on the back straight on Seaside Way, but I wouldn't necessarily count on it, Joe. I think our main chance to overtake today is going to be in that Turn 2 area.
Absolutely. Seems the most likely for sure. But before we get to the race in itself, let's remind you that today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. DJ?
The PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Let's take a look at the championship from last season and how things wound up in the pro standings. Up at the front, Josh Chin well ahead of David Serrois. David didn't really consider the championship likely, considering Josh dominated the number of wins throughout the season. And then you've got Gaillon ahead of Ike and Olivier Legault rounding out your top 5. The remainder of the top 5 did run pretty consistently throughout the season. We, of course, also have the AM Championship that they ran last season. DJ, I believe you've got the points for those.
I do indeed. Owen McLaughlin was able to come out on top with that 274 points, barely edging out Dave Peterson. That was the best battle at the last race of the season, really keeping an eye on there. Tyler Gore and Michael Broomhead following up behind them, with David Olson rounding out the top 5. Those guys are going to be looking to see what they can do, though, in this new season.
And then, of course, we have the Teams Championship as well, and Team Talent took that one. Lavoie Motorsport in second. That's pretty much how they finished in the Drivers' Championship, of course, with Chin on Team Talon and Sirwa on Lavoie. RSR Esport did get themselves up into third, a distance third, though, as you can tell. Blown Tranny Racing behind in fourth, followed by Beagle Vision Racing, a pretty distant fifth as well. Teams Championship was quite a rout between the top teams for sure. This is the first race of the season. It's a good time to join in here, DJ, but in case anybody is joining in, why don't you go over the race details?
Well, as you said, it's the first race of the season. It's round 1 of 10. We have a 45-minute race in store for tonight with a completely open setup. The one caveat being to that is that there is a fuel limit placed on these cars, so they will have to come into the pits at one point during the course of the race. Now, in terms of incident points, you get a drive-through at 11x and a disqualification at 20. We haven't really seen anybody ever fall afoul of that. PRL always provides a good, clean show for everybody. In terms of point standings, though, you do get some bonus points available. You get a bonus point for pole, you get bonus points for fastest lap, and if you get 3 incidents or less.
So that pole position bonus point currently goes to Julio Palacio, actually, with Nick Johnson, a name that I'm pretty sure is new here in the Indy Pro 2000 series, currently in second. Make that third, because Greg Seitz, who is leading the practice times, has decided it's time to lead the qualifying times as well. In fact, he's a quarter of the second ahead of Palacio, and as short of a lap as this is, I'm kind of amazed how much time he's found over everybody.
That's really, really remarkable that, you know, winning here at Long Beach, it's one of the places that they call it the track of winners. You look at the litany of drivers that have been able to dominate here. Al Unser Jr., recently Alexander Rossi. It's really a track that separates the best from the greats. So Seitz really, really proven here that he's got what it can take. As we watch here, Matthew Hall working his way around the track, getting ready to head into that tricky 9 and 10 complex.
So the infamous hairpin here has a bit of a connection issue there for a moment, but looks smooth off the corner. Hall tried to improve on his 1:15.2, and as he crosses the line, it's going to be a 19 flat that time, so clearly not his quickest. So we switch over to David Menino, another driver that looked very good in practice. This last lap looks to not be his quickest either. It thankfully is pretty good conditions out here today, it seems, DJ, because track looks rather cool.
Yeah, we're coming in at a nice 72 degrees Fahrenheit of track temperature, 65 air temp. Winds coming out of the northwest or about the west rather, at about 5 miles an hour. Low humidity, obviously this being right on the ocean, 35%. Those cool track temps are going to be very handy for these drivers. They're not going to have to worry about a whole bunch of tire wear as they work their way around here. And as we've seen this cloud cover rolling in and rolling off, I think that track temp's going to stay pretty low.
And as that was happening, Nick Johnson moved his way up to second, incredibly close to Greg Seitz. It's half of a tenth between the pair of them. He didn't improve as he just crossed the line, so we watch Bart Cook now down in 26. A huge field today. Normally 26, we would say that's well down the field, but he's in the mid-pack, actually, that number 45 car, as we once again look at Menino, trying to see if he can get any farther up the order, down into the timing line. That is faster at 14.5, and that'll actually put him on the second row as he goes to third.
That's an incredible run there from Menino. You're seeing just how close it is if you're on it between Johnson and Seitz. A little bit of gap back to Menino, about 0.3 of a second, as we watch here Alex Guyon working his way around, seeing if he can do anything. Looks like this is an out lap for him, so he's not going to set anything this time. Guyon currently sitting back in 5th place, looking to improve.
Just saw Olivier Legault jump up to 9th place, so the 88 managed to find a little bit of time. This is Verity on screen in 23rd, and well, he just jumped out of the timing screen. I missed where he moved himself to, but clearly he's improved as well. We're missing 2 drivers right now yet to set a time, Sammy Bridges and Adam Wright, out of our 44 cars that are out qualifying currently.
Just a massive field here tonight, Joe. It's going to make for a very interesting race. As we watch here, Matthew Hall trying to improve his time, gets a nice toe down the front stretch. That's going to improve his time, but he is going to stay. It looks like, oh no, he's going to bump up all the way to 5th as we watch Remillard here working his way around, setting in with a 117. Paul Wildridge, one of the AM drivers that we saw last season, now working his way out, currently sitting in 34th with a 116.7. Let's see what he can do. Improves his time to a 116.2. That'll bump him up the order just a little bit.
And some of our viewers may have noticed that Greg Seitz did go a little bit quicker, but it's still less than a tenth between himself and Nicholas Johnson. Guyon down and still trying to get higher than row 3, but this one's not going to do it. A 16.8. Unfortunately, still a few tenths off of his fastest time. Botham comes around, and yeah, he looks like he took a little bit of a clip of the wall, which will discount that lap. So that one, unfortunately, is going to have to send him around yet another time. Still 4 minutes to go, but the laps here go fast, so still lots of chances to try and get higher up the sheet.
Plenty of time. We watch here a new face to the crowd, Nicholas Cullen, working his way around. He's on an out lap right now. It looks like that is not going to count for him. Here comes Greg Seitz. Once again, looks like he's on an out lap as well, so he's going to try to get something new here, recognizing the pressure from Johnson, wanting to make sure he can lock into that front row position.
Seitz not improving. Julio Palacio, in the meantime, out of the hairpin, is trying to get better than a 14.7. He's half a second off of the quickest time. That's not going to be quicker, unfortunately. The 15.5 leaves him to try again. You can see just how many cars there are. Even as they come down into turn 1, there's still people leaving pit lane trying to come out for another run. Have some old names coming back as well. Takeshi Kita is out here, although we more know him for running in the sports cars on Tuesday nights. Good to see him over in the open wheel cars. Christopher Richards in a bit of an accident in a very unusual place.
Don't normally see that every day. Looks like the two of them just kind of didn't judge exactly where they should be on each other. Barry Cochran crossing the line, trying to set a good time here. Here comes Coleman coming across the line. We saw him a little bit earlier, starting unable to improve there. He's going to stay back all the way in 41st position. So not a great run from Colin there, but here comes J.R. Williams, a new face to the crowd here. J.R. going to be coming out of that last turn. Judging by that time, I think he either had an off or an out lap, so this is not going to be a good time for him, but he's still got time left to try to get a new lap here as qualifying starts to wind down.
Jean-Francois Mattei in a very classic-looking livery has crossed the line, but it's a 16.8. So unfortunately, that faux Williams will not be able to do a Williams-esque time. Meanwhile, we look at Declan Eady. Wow, this is way far down for Declan Eady. Bumped to 18th even. And his warm-up showed that he could do better. So let's see what this is. No, still only a 15.8. What is going on with the number 13 car?
I'm not sure, Joe. I mean, I haven't been watching them too closely, but the truth of the matter is with Long Beach, these corners are so tight, the walls are so up on you, it's very easy for a driver to get in their head about it. You change your braking zone because you don't want to end up in the wall, and you would be amazed at just how much braking just a quarter of a second earlier can change your time. As we watch Daniel Burnett crossing the line here, unable to improve his time. He's going to stay 36th for the moment. Here comes Colin again. Either on an out lap or had an off there, so this is not going to count for him. He's going to stay 41st. Will have time to do it, but here comes Christopher Richards.
Another driver on an out lap. Our top three just crossed the line. They're all relatively close together, Seitz, Johnson, and Menino, but none of them improved last time by. I wonder if they're trying to pull a slipstream off of each other, at least in the case potentially of Seitz and Menino. It's Johnson who leads the trio. This is LeBlanc we saw briefly, and then Remillard and Verity. Verity not able to go any faster.
Yeah, and that slipstream count is an interesting one. As there, Declan Eady goes faster, able to punch his way up to 8th place. Still farther back from what we've seen him do normally, but he'll be happier with that. The slipstream will come into effect on the main straightaway. You do have some decent areas to get fully up to speed, and thankfully there's not a lot of high-speed corners here. It's a lot of 90-degree tight first gear corners, so you're not going to be dealing with a lot of aero wash. So slipstream, it'll help you a little bit, and there's not a lot of negative consequences.
Now's the chance to try and do something because we just got the checkered flag. Let's see who's going to be the first to take it. I think J.R. Williams and the number 213. He's got a 15.3 on the board. Make that a 14.9. Big jump up to 9th for him.
Really good one from Williams. Here comes Christopher Richards across the line, unable to improve. He will stay in 17th. Eric LeBlanc way back in the field in 22nd. He's able to improve a little bit. That'll bump him up only one position to 21st. Here comes Guyon, seeing if he can do anything. Able to improve just a little bit, and one position more moves him ahead of Matthew Hall into 7th place.
Declan Eady down to 10th, but he goes even faster, a 14.5. He's up to 4th with that. So in the last moments, he finds something out there. As behind them, looks like Kyle Strykar is going to be the next one in the number 07. And it's a 15 flat. That jumps him to 13th on the field. Looks like Brett Thurman will be next as he is P5, but that was a slow lap for him as he cools down across the line. Sean Duhamel, nicely done to a 15.6, and he grabs a few spots up to 22nd. Greg Seitz is slow, and he's going to be the last one, so this lap doesn't really matter all that much. He will be our pole sitter for today. Before we get to our grid, we want to remind you that starting January 1st, Precision Racing League is holding a yearly draw where you can win a Butt Kicker Gamer 2 kit worth $180, and up to $225 in iRacing gift cards. How can you enter to win? Simply head on over to precisionracingleague.com and get a premium membership to be added to the draw. In addition, premium members get priority for a driver slot when signing up for a series. Enter now. Let's take a look at that starting grid. Greg Seitz on the pole with Nick Johnson in P2, followed by David Menino in 3rd. Declan Eady, boy, he saved himself some woe, really, starting up in 4th after not putting many good qualifying laps in. Brett Thurman starts 5th, and Julio Palacio P6. Stephen Verity will be 7th, followed by Alex Guyon in 8th, and then Matthew Hall in 9th. J.R. Williams winds up in 10th.
Owen McLaughlin going to be starting off from 11th place, followed by Frank Nguyen in 12th. Kyle Strichards in 13th, followed by Jean-Francois Mattei. Dave Peterson 15th with Olivier Legault outside of him in 16th. Adam Helm 17th. Christopher Richards in 18th. And rounding out row 10, Aaron Roots and Michael Broomhead.
Eric LeBlanc on the inside of the next row with Sean Duhamel in 22nd. Lucio Vargas starts 23rd. Then it's going to be Claude Ramoyard in 24th and Daniel Barnett in 25th position. Brian Hotham, he'll start in 26th. Paul Wildridge to the inside of the next row in 27th. Then he's got Jacob Exton to his outside and Brett Accord behind them. Luis Gonzalez Nunez starts 30th.
Lining up in 31st is going to be Bart Cook, followed by Donald Olson. Mitch Mullins behind them in 32nd, followed by Neil Alexander in 34th. Tyler Gore and Takashi Kita making up the 18th row, followed by Barry Cochran and David Hebert in row 19. Matthew Gunderson is going to start off in 39th, followed by Sebastian Prue back in 40th.
Then it's Nicholas Coland and Christopher Smorrell, the last two to put a time in. Adam Wright, Sammy Bridges will be gridded at the back as they did not get a time in qualifying. The gap from 1st to 42nd is still only about 4 seconds, 5 seconds to be exact, actually, it looks like, which, considering how many cars are out here, that is an incredibly small gap amongst them. But they will still likely catch all that lap traffic quite quickly, and we'll see if it plays a part in today's 45-minute race. As the pace car takes off, the drivers up on the front row, Greg Seitz and Nick Johnson, lead the way. Seitz returns after a brief time away. Let's see if he can claim another championship in this series. He certainly knows how to, but is he rusty? Johnson follows as they come out of the hairpin, and he's catching up already, and it's immediately off for Greg Seitz. Green flag is out. Not going to be the tidiest of starts amongst them as they come down to the line. And it looks like into the first corner, it's a challenge for second place. Johnson has Menino to the inside. Menino deep on the brakes and out braking himself. Johnson almost goes into the wall. He loses another spot as Thurman comes through. They head into the fountain section. Everyone behind, very single file by that first corner, so it's looking actually not too chaotic coming through the first most technical part.
And that's a good sign for things to come. Really, really tough break there for Johnson. I thought for sure Declan Eady was going to be able to get by him coming through the fountain, but discretion, the better part of valor for Eady, decided to hold back and wait it out as they come down here, working their way around this backstretch, making their way through turn 8 and into 9. This is they're at 7. I should know this track a little better than that, but this is the first time we're going to see that draft coming into effect here down the backstretch. Eady taking maybe a look, thinking about it. No, he's going to stay right in line.
We had 3 drivers start from pit lane, Vargas, Kita, and Prue. Everybody else did take to the grid. And up at the front, as you can see them now working their way around that hairpin. Up at the top, it is Greg Seitz, but not very far ahead of Menino. He is chasing him down, and he's got a good slipstream. In fact, a defensive move very early from Seitz. He comes back to the racing line and opens the door. Menino's going to step through, and he's going to take the lead on lap 2.
David Menino really flexing some muscle here early, moving his way up the field, up to 2 positions into the lead. Seitz now is going to be in the clutches of Brett Thurman if he can do it, as there looks like Menino's got a little bit of outright speed, able to pull away, having a gap of about 0.3 of a second already back to Greg Seitz.
Incredibly, I think we only had 2 cars with some sort of damage on that first lap. Coland, I saw him nose it into the wall, and I see Adam Wright in pit lane missing his front wing. Otherwise, everybody else is still out there and circulating on to Seaside Way. And David Menino has claimed the top spot, even though he couldn't get the pole. Looks like he's going to be chased all race long, though, because that you talked about the slipstream helping in a few places, and we ride on board with Thurman, getting a good view of it coming on to Shoreline Drive.
And this is a great angle from our cameraman, Dougie Beard. You can see it as everybody starts to pull away, just flat out how this is, kinking around Shoreline Drive here, as Johnson sets the fastest lap from P4, getting the advantage. Ooh, that was Seitz thinking about it. A little bit of an uncharacteristic error forces Thurman to lock up behind him ever so slightly. That may put him into the clutches of Johnson.
So everybody still somehow makes it out the other side of that one. Looks like everybody's trying to stay patient here and trying to keep the car whole, knowing how attrition can rear its ugly head around this track. You see a couple others in pit lane. It looks like we've got Nunez and I think Hotham as well. Didn't quite see what happened to them. We'll try and find out a little bit later. Menino now with a gap at the front by about 0.7 of a second over Greg Seitz.
Seitz just looking a little bit out of sorts here. You know, that move down the main stretch, that wiggle from the car, very uncharacteristic of the calm, cool, and collected way we've seen Seitz drive before. There you can see behind, looking backwards from Menino, just those cars piling out of the hairpin and launching down Shoreline Drive here, as Menino is holding about a 0.6 of a second gap now back, setting the fastest lap of the race with a 15 dead.
Got the bit between his teeth, and he's running a torrid pace, and Nick Johnson is going to be our first one to have to take to the escape road in turn 1. The number 28 returns down in 12th when he was within the top 5 before.
Very hard luck there. It's not going to be the only one, I think, here today. That first turn has caught many, many people out, so Johnson back down in 12th after a good start. He's down 10 positions from his start of second place. He's going to have to try to work his way forward here. Next on the docket for him is Frank Lynn in 11th, or in 10th.
We also had Jacob Exton find his way into the tires at turn 1, but he bounced off, and he's going to have to come in for a new front wing. We're looking at 7th place now. Guyon ahead of Hall with J.R. Williams behind them. They're going to pile into the final hairpin themselves, looking for that ever critical exit off the corner. Look at him locking him up down into there. And as they speed away, I think that's going to be a decent slipstream for Hall. The 911 car is going to start reeling him in.
I think he certainly is. We'll have to see if he can take advantage of it. You can see him just inching forward. He's going to be too far back here unless he wants to go for a massive dive bomb. Doesn't, just nice and hard on the brakes, working its way through there as you come through here. Great to see on board. You can see that fountain just off to your right. It's one of the most interesting corners on the American racing calendar as they work their way now back on through the back section. Great job for both of these drivers, keeping everything nice and straight. Little bit of opposite lock there from Hall, but he's still close on the back of Guyon.
Tempers are already rising among drivers. Christopher Richards and Michael Broomhead came together, breaking down into turn one. It looks like Richards had to take a tow. Broomhead able to get the car going once again. And I said those tempers are flaring. Broomhead is on the radio expressing his displeasure right now.
It's one of those things that happens in Long Beach. Any move that may work where there's a little bit of runoff isn't going to work when the walls are about an inch away from you. Broomhead working his way around now. No wing on that car, so he's going to have to come in for service.
Up at the front, things are really separating out. Now, Greg Seitz looks like he's clinging to the back of Menino, but you can see behind him Thurman with a full 1 second gap up to the top two, and then it's 1.7 back to Declan Eady. He's got some work to do for sure if he hopes to get onto the podium.
They most certainly do. They've really got to be pushing it here. Eady, that 3 second gap is just absolutely mega. No hope for a slipstream for him. The maximum amount that you're going to get on the slipstream is about 1.5 seconds in these Indy Pro cars. So you see here, Eady, though, under attack a little bit from Palacio, so he's going to have to be driving in his mirrors a little bit, not able to fully focus on the road ahead.
It's right on board here with Palacio, and man, these onboard cameras make it feel so claustrophobic around here, and he gets right up to the walls at some of these apexes as they break for the end of the back stretch. Palacio is going to brake too late. He locks him up, but he keeps it critically out of the barrier. Off into the distance goes Eady, and in his mirrors, Verity gets ever bigger.
Very good bit of car control there from Palacio, just being able to lift off the brakes and catch the car before it got too far. But it's just so difficult. As Greg Seitz starting to really reel in David Menino, setting another fastest lap. That's 2 in a row for Seitz right now. We jump back up to the front. You can see him right there on his tail through the fountain.
And they both got a bit of a tow from Bart Cook, the lapped car. That was Brett Cook, actually, that just went off. And I'm not sure how. Oh, I think he spun the tires, the rear tires coming out of the fountain, and nosed it into the wall. He just decided to take a tow immediately rather than causing more problems.
Smart decision there from Cook, is trying to extricate himself from that position with the 42 car field is going to prove to be very difficult. You can see up ahead though for these guys, for Menino and Seitz, that is Sammy Bridges ahead of them, about 2.5 seconds up the road, so that draft may come into effect on the main straight once again.
Helped him get a fastest lap before. Will it do it again? Nose cam here with Menino, and he's immediately going to pull off to the side. Bridges sporting a bit of damage of his own, so across goes Seitz and Menino, still split by about 0.5 seconds, and we're not even a third of the way through this thing. We haven't even hit the pit window yet, and there's been a lot of action.
It's been too much action to count as we go back here to P7 once again. This is Guyon, and Hall still battling it out, and here comes Hall up the inside of Guyon, able to get the brakes down just right, missed the tire barriers, and that's Hall up into 7th position.
I hope he did that intentionally, because if not, that was really flirting with disaster. How close he got to that outside barrier. That'll jump him up to 7th. Guyon still under attack behind him. J.R. Williams could have an opportunity soon. Not able to do anything up into 6th. And as they head over the crest of Pine up towards Seaside Way, this is where everybody focusing on that corner exit tries to get the jump, but a horrible run from J.R. Williams. In fact, he had to check up, and now Nick Johnson on his recovery drive is coming up behind him.
It's exactly what can happen at Long Beach, Joe. You make one mistake and you go from attack to prey. And you can see it here on board with Johnson. He is right up his tail, going to try to make a good move here. Slightly wider line than Williams in front of him off of that. Oh, has to counter steer a little bit. That's going to cost him about a half a tenth. As you can see there, David Menino responding to Seitz's fastest lap, putting in a 1:14.499. Looks like nobody's going to get the pass made here, but Johnson is clearly staking his claim behind Williams. Oh, but maybe he's going to think about it. Darts out to the outside. Nope, says fall. I'm going to fall back in line and keep it going for one more lap.
And I think Johnson is trying to appeal to the California fans. The Carolina drivers put in and out on his car. I love it. As they come out of the fountain section, weaving up towards the reverse on Shoreline Drive. As they head across. You know, you and I were talking about it, and this low camera should show it pretty well. There's a fair bit of elevation change on this track, which you wouldn't think right next to the ocean.
No, but there really is. There you can see the reverse of that crest. When you come up Pine onto turn 7 like that in the cockpit of the car, it is almost completely blind. You have to just know your braking point by heart. Utterly surprising. As you said, you are literally next to the beach. You can see the Queen Mary off in the background of the port of Long Beach. You are right there, but there is some really fantastic elevation change on the street circuit.
Boy, they're getting really packed up amongst this group. A little bit of wheel spin for J.R. Williams coming off the hairpin. Johnson has to have seen that, and I'm sure he's licking his chops as they start to pick up speed. But it looks like the slipstream ahead of Williams coming off of Guyon is kind of saving his bacon there. So as they break for the first corner, not going to be any attempts amongst the three of them. They'll stay P8, P9, and P10.
I love the instinct, though, there from Johnston, just ducking his nose out at the end of the straight. Now, that's a twofold move. Number one, he's deliberately breaking the draft, so he's not going to get sucked up behind and pull a Max Verstappen to Daniel Ricciardo from a couple years ago at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And then secondly, he's doing it to show his nose, try to scare J.R. Williams a little bit. It's trying to get inside his head, and that's the sign of a really good heads-up driver. But you can see here, Williams isn't on it. He's coming up on Guyon hard, and he may make the move.
He's got a good run, but he's not brave enough to try and get to the inside down at the end of the backstretch. Guyon still under threat. Two very different lines between the pair of them coming up to the hairpin. Goes for the over-under. Guyon can't hold him back. A beautiful move by Williams. It's so rare that you see a clean pass like that through the hairpin.
Joe, that was remarkable. Setting that up all the way back from the Indy turn there. Huh. Great move from Williams, but here comes Johnson up the inside of Williams trying to get the pass made into turn 2. No, thinks better of it, backs off. And so we can just continue to sing J.R. Williams accolades for what I'm calling the pass of the season, even though we're one race in.
Yeah, those are bold words. And you know, I imagine that Johnson might be a little bit gun-shy down into turn 1 with his passes, because remember, that's where he went wide and had to do a spin turn in the runoff area and lost all his spots. So certainly doesn't want to have to do that again or just plow into the barriers this next time. You can only get lucky so many times into that corner. So as the in and out car comes on to Seaside Way, oh, he's actually fairly close here. Let's see what happens.
He's thinking about it, trying to show his nose a little bit. Gonna tuck right back in line though. See if he can maybe do a move like that. No, and there you see, try to take that outside line. Williams a little bit defensive on it, gives him a little bit of a nudge. Takes a wider line, gonna be able to get on the power a little bit earlier, but oh, a little bit of tire spin there for that's for him, and that's going to slow him down. So it looks like Williams not able to get it, but he's still in the draft. If he can get it going here, let's see if he's got the guts to make that move, or if he's in his head. Here he goes, thinking to the inside. Here comes the move. Can he get it done? He holds it, but all able to hold him off.
Williams is not going to give this one up. My goodness. He defended around the outside into the corner. So Johnson will have to regroup and try again later. Behind them, Alex Guyon, who's lost 2 spots in recent laps, I'm sure would love for the two to tangle and be able to breeze on through as we ride on board with Williams looking back at P9 and P10.
There you can see it, and now it's back again. J.R. Williams just trying to think out what he can do.
Can he manage to shake Johnson? I'm keeping half an eye on this and half an eye on third place because both have been fairly close, but we haven't seen a change for either position. This has been the ideal spot for both of them, coming onto the front straight and breaking into the first corner. But this time, Williams looks a little bit farther away to me, and Edie's getting close. Let's head up to third. Edie's looking to the inside. He's going to break a little bit later than Thurman, and he is actually going to get it done, doing what Johnson couldn't.
I thought for a second there that Thurman was going to be able to get that counterpunch on him, but Edie able to hold the braking line just right, prevent that momentum going to Thurman's hands. So move Edie up into the podium position of third, but it looks like Thurman and behind him Julio Palacio, neither of them willing to completely give up on that position quite yet.
All this is happening behind our two leaders, still separated by less than a second. Minito ahead of Greg Seitz. David having started in third, with Greg having started on the pole, but they have switched around a bit here. If I'm not mistaken, Greg has quite a bit of pace, so I'm a bit surprised that he's not been able to do anything with David unless this is intentional. He's just kind of pacing himself.
He may be thinking about trying to save a little bit of fuel, Joe, just holding back slightly and seeing if he can go an extra lap, put a little bit less fuel into the tank, but that's really about the only strategy I can think here.
You can easily see his rival up ahead of him as we ride on the helmet cam of the number 74, getting right up next to the walls, using every inch of track. This is probably why I've never been very fast at these street courses. I'm too chicken to really get it right up there.
You and me both, Joe, but you've got to be able to just use every absolute corner as they go here, working their way down around you. Oh, you can see just how close that left side tire is on both the entry and exit of turn 7, going down the backstretch.
Lapping another car once again. We might want to jump back to Johnson one more time. The number 28 is closing in on 6 with J.R. Williams, 7th in front of him, rather. Oh, he's got a very good slipstream. Nope, he's going to break a little early. So, as they come towards the front stretch, let's see if he can get himself the exit he needs. These cars can spin the wheels. Oh, just like that from Nick Johnson. But he looks fairly close. This is going to be a good opportunity. Can the number 28 make it happen? He's had one try into the first corner. It didn't stick. Will he get another? He's pulling up. He looks to the inside. Outbrakes him. He manages to get side by side. Guns it off the corner this time. He learned his lesson, and that's going to gift 7th to Nicholas Johnson.
Good move there from Johnson. Really able to just keep it nice, cool, and consistent, and great trust there, and well earned from J.R. Williams, knowing that he's not going to push it too hard. As you can see, Williams getting a little squirrely there off of that corner. So I think everybody's just still getting a little bit of a feel for this Long Beach track here tonight.
We've still got around, it looks like roughly 32 or 33 drivers still running. Actually, no, more than that. Looks like maybe about 36 or 37. A few are in pit lane taking repairs. But as we go to 15th place, some of our top AM drivers, we really haven't had time to cover much of the AM battles here. This is between Duhamel and Wildridge. I think, yeah, that's a lapped car behind them. Michael Broomhead, so that's not for position with the 40 behind them. But this is for 3rd and 4th in the AM race here today.
Yeah, so as we've seen in last season's battle for the AM Championship, every point is important. It was only decided by 2 points, so these guys absolutely scrapping it out, trying to see what they can do. Little bit of tire smoke in there. Not the greatest exit off the line there from Paul Wildridge. I think that's going to let Duhamel pull away just enough down Shoreline Drive to be able to not be under threat into turn 1.
Now, Broomhead at this point mostly just circulating. Maybe wants to get a lap back at some point, but he's got about half the race to do that, and I don't think he's got enough pace to really try and charge back through. He's, in fact, still got 14 seconds ahead of him to Jean-Francois Mattei. as Hall and Johnson just swapped spots. And was this on the back stretch? Yes, it was. Wow.
Gets that move done. We talked about it in the pre-show that we said that may be an overtaking opportunity for the bold, and Johnson proving he is one of the bold. But what that's going to do is that is maybe going to allow, I was going to say we ride on board here to see with J.R. Williams, to see what he can do. If he can push his way forward a little bit, maybe he can get it. No, it looks like he's going to be a little too far back unless he's very aggressive on the brakes here. He's just showing his nose there, not actually trying to make a pass, but just being aggressive.
He sure braked very late, though. I wonder if it was a legitimate attempt at trying to make it stick. I'm severely impressed with the number 28. After having to recover from what was a bit of an embarrassing mistake, he's made some fantastic moves. Oh, and our lead is closed in down to 0.2 of a second. Did Menino get caught up by traffic? Oh, and they come together! Both of them are off into the runoff and into the wall!
Oh my goodness, it looks like that was just a classic case of Sights missing his braking zone, running into each other. There you see a little bit of grievance coming out. Oh my goodness, our leaders have taken themselves out. This turns over the lead of the race to Declan Eady. Greg Sights continuing on. We're going to watch the replay.
What timing, just as we jump over to this fight. I thought he looked close, maybe a little too close here. Oh, unfortunate.
I don't know if that was his case of Menino braking a little bit earlier than Sights thought. There may have been a little bit of locking up there from Sights. Either way, he is right now in the pits, able to carry on. David Menino, however, he took a tow, so it looks like it is going to be his day almost completely done.
And this changes the complexion completely, because now not only do you have Declan Eady leading the race, Brett Thurman is very tight behind him. So we have a new battle for the lead with two completely new drivers as we hop on board with the number 69. Thurman trying to chase him down. This is why every position is important, because just a lap ago here, DJ, this was for third place. Now suddenly it's for the win.
That's what happens in Long Beach, Joe. That's what happens in a street circuit. One little mistake and your race is over. There is no runoff. We saw it happen last season at Detroit, at Belle Isle. We're seeing it here at Long Beach. Oh, Eady and Thurman both. Not the best exit off in the corner there. Getting a little bit too much wheel spin, getting a little sideways, but they're going to be able to keep it going. Looks like Eady's going to at least have everything under control to be able to keep going into turn 2 here. No challenge from Thurman. But this battle is far from over.
It's got it down to 0.3 of a second between the pair of them, weaving through the fountain section, and then heading around the two right-handers onto Shoreline Drive once more. That is a very tricky corner there, coming out onto Shoreline, as the track is just way off camber, but they both handle it well. Look at how close to the gearbox Brett Thurman is getting, trying to make Eady sweat. Can he elicit a mistake that will allow him to try and sneak through?
If he does, I wouldn't blame Declan Eady if he does make a mistake. I know for myself, I would certainly be primed for a mistake with all that kinds of pressure. Thinks about going on the inside there into turn 8. Thinks better of it, doesn't go, but here he comes into the hairpin. As they work their way through Indy, they're going to keep single fire. Who can get the better exit out of the hairpin here?
Oh, they were about even, but the slipstream's going to go to Thurman, and this is the closest he's been on the front stretch. I don't see Eady defending yet, though. He's going to have to get to the left side. There he goes. Tries to cover him off. Thurman having to go the long way around. They almost bang wheels down into the braking zone. Thurman much later, but he's into the wall, and he's going to collect him. For the second time in this race, our leaders have both been taken out.
Oh, my Lord. Again, that puts Stephen Verity into P1. We're going to go back and check a replay of this as they come down the main straight here. This is Thurman. They're behind Eady. He just completely misjudged the braking zone, left himself absolutely nothing, and went headlong into the wall.
And poor Eady tried his hardest to stay out of it. You can see just as soon as he came up to the car, though, there was very little in avoiding it. And though he did get the car rolling, unfortunately, looks like it was too much damage and he had to take a tow eventually. Stephen Verity now from 7th on the grid to the lead. And how about Nick Johnson, who started this race in 2nd and is in 2nd now, but I don't think he expected to be back here this soon.
No, not at all, and he's got himself a nice little gap on either side of him, so he's kind of going to be able to just focus on his race here and try to reel in Stephen Verity as you see him here working his way down shoreline. Amazing run from Johnson and some very good luck.
So can Verity avoid the curse that has befallen our leaders here today? With 20 minutes left to go on the clock and a 3-second lead, this is, I believe this is the farthest the lead has been apart from 2nd place in this entire race.
You're right, Joe. This is the biggest gap we've seen the entire day as the leaders have just been on top of each other. So we've got right now Sean Duhamel and Claude Remillard coming into the pits, as well as Brett Accord. So those are the first guys to be jumping in here. Just a note though, Neil Alexander, Tyler Gore, Seitz obviously coming in for damage. They all came in on the last lap though. Edie's in as well.
Unfortunately, there's no free repair for these drivers in this series. So whatever damage they get, they've just got to deal with. We see Duhamel returning out. And it is a long, long pit exit here. You can see how far they have to wait before they get past the pit exit cones. And this is another good example of what you have to deal with here as he comes out in the thick of traffic.
If you harken back to a couple years ago at the real IndyCar race here, you got to keep an eye out for that blue line. You cross over it too early, you will get a penalty. So these drivers all being really good, really smart about it, but it's something you really, really have to keep in mind.
And unfortunately, there's no arguing with the stewards on this one. If you get that penalty in iRacing, you have to serve it. As we take a look at the battle between Gaillon and Seitz, actually, I think. No, excuse me. Seitz, I thought this was for position in pit lane. Seitz is going to go on by. That's not for position. Gaillon just finishes his stop. Oh, and a little bit of a spin in front of him. Greg Seitz a little too eager coming off pit lane, and he sends the car sideways. Thankfully, nobody hits him.
Yeah, that's very lucky there from Gaillon. I'm sure his heart's in his mouth right now as they start to work their way back around the track here. Obviously, Greg Seitz able to get back under his own steam, so that's good to see. But that's going to put him out way back in 25th, so a far cry from the lead he was in.
Looks like we've got, a number of front runners in. Hall, McLaughlin, Nyan. Looks like Peterson also pits. We are getting to the end of the pit window at this point. Helm pits. So we're waiting on Verity, Johnson, Williams, and Olsen. Cochran, I think, has yet to come in. He's a little farther down the order. Where is McLaughlin going to come out? He's already exiting. Highest driver besides them who is pitted is Alex Gaillon, who's in 10th and just coming onto the front stretch.
You see him getting back up to speed, keeping an eye of that blue line, working their way back into the main course here, keeping an eye on Verity, Johnson, and Williams. Your top three, they have yet to pit here, and it looks like Verity's staying out, as is Johnson in the pits. Johnson's coming in.
Boy, he really was pushing it on his way in. It's almost like the old Monaco chicane from many years ago, the way they just fly through there and flirt with the wall. So Johnson, Williams, both in. Verity stays out. Great fuel saving from him, have to admit, because we're now to the final third of the race. 15 minutes left to go. It's a pit comparison between Johnson and McLaughlin. But McLaughlin's way back there. Johnson is going to be out of the pits easily before the number 90 reaches him. In fact, McLaughlin's still getting around the final hairpin as Johnson is just getting to the blue cones.
Yeah, And so there you see Johnson getting out. We're going to pick up Stephen Verity here, your race leader, to see what he does as he makes his way through turn 8 and 9. I've got to think here, Joe, he's going to come in. Otherwise, he is not going to have any fuel to get around this track.
Well, he certainly was a little ways off the leader, so clearly not running as quick as a pace, but there he goes. He's off and into the lane. Johnson currently coming on to Seaside Way. So that is about half a lap that Johnson is behind. They're spending roughly 37 seconds from cone to cone for most of the drivers here today.
So I think that's going to be enough to put Verity still out in the lead. The question is going to be just how much he can pull off as you watch here the seconds go by. That's a long stop though there from Verity. Very surprising. I wonder if as Johnson whizzes on by, Johnson into the lead.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Johnson is still coming through. Verity, it's going to be very close. There it is, and he's got it. But I'm looking at that pit time difference. I wonder if Johnson did not take tires and Verity did.
I think you're right. I think you're right. That's exactly what happened. As I look back on a little bit of replay, Johnson took new tires onto the car, and or Johnson did not take tires. Verity did. That was the 2-second difference. As here we go, riding on with Hall right up behind Alex Guyon.
It's a battle for 6. Frank in the numbers 97 just behind him is trailing as they try and chase Alex down for 5th place. They come along Shoreline Drive, braking as they steer it onto Pine, heading over the blind crest, braking hard, and then onto the backstretch they go, onto Seaside Way. 13 minutes left now. This is for a top 5. And we've had everybody having taken their scheduled stop at this point.
So now it is all just battles on track. You've got to keep it down here. So as we watch, this is still Hall trying to work his way past Guyon. We'll have to see what they can do. Hall taking a very wide line there through the hairpin, trying to minimize that wheel spin we talked about time and time again. Not really close enough to make a full-on attack here, but still enough to be filling Guyon's mirrors and making him drive in the rear just a little bit.
It's definitely got to be getting some slipstream. They whoa it up. A little bit hot into that corner for Matthew Hall. Keeps it out of the wall, though. He's got to watch out for that. We're going to ride on board with them on the roll hoop here. Let's see what kind of... Oh, did he clip the wall there?
Yeah, just a little tap and a little bit more of it right there.
He's got to be damaged. Yeah, that car looks like it did not want to steer into the right-hander. So Hall limping a little bit, and now Frank in the number 97 starting to gather him up. Is this going to be an easy pass? Oh, yeah, right-hand turns just looking all sorts of scary for the 911 car.
And you can see, Joe, him just sawing at that wheel whenever he goes through a corner, trying to get the power down, just absolutely nothing happening. Able to keep it well there through that right-hander, so maybe not as bad as we thought, but there you see the micro changes. Let's see how he handles the hairpin. Oh, there you see all that opposite lock he's having to put in.
An ill-handling car around a street course does not sound like a fun time to me, and I think we've had a wreck with Vargas. This looks to be out of turn 5. Yeah. Just spun the tires up and wound up kind of stuck on the inside and had to find his way back around. Let's see how it happened. Here's the 710 coming into the situation.
That's him in the lead there in that bright red and white car. Puts the power down a little bit too early. Good of him to keep it off the wall there and to stay off the racing line, but looks like he just made that mistake that we've seen a lot of guys do, getting the power down too fast, too early, and spinning the rear tires.
I wonder if we could go back to our lead, because I think these fresh tires are paying off. Last lap between Johnson and Verity, there was 0.8 of a second difference. And Verity seems to have gained quite a bit here as well. Johnson comes to the line. This one, a 15.4. Okay, that's much faster for Nick. Steven, a 15.2. 0.2 faster still for the 04.
Yeah, Verity's really starting to close that gap. It's now down to about a second. Oh, every time they go through that corner, Joe, I think they're going to hit the wall, and they don't. But 10 minutes to go, and Stephen Verity very much trying to make sure this race is not closed up.
You have to think that if Johnson manages to win this race, this is escape from the Los Angeles sort of situation. I can't believe that he spun himself into the escape road and then found his way back to the front and is going to try and fend off Verity with old tires. Behind them, Gaillon and Hall still working hard to settle out this top 5 position.
Ooh, Hall getting very close to the back of Gaillon there as they work their way through these corners. I think this is one that Hall is just trying to fill his mirrors. Greg Seitz says, yeah, I may have had a little problem, but remember me? As he sets the fastest lap of the race with a 14.439. But Matthew Hall just trying to force Alex Gaillon into any kind of mistake that he can make here. Gaillon pretty cool under pressure, so it may not be 100% effective, but he's going to have to see what he can do.
Under a lot of pressure. I'm amazed that Hall is still this quick after clapping the outside twice in a row. His left side tires into the barrier. Still challenging. Uh-oh. Gaillon looks like he might have a move coming up the inside, depending on how brave Hall is. No, not brave enough this time. 8 minutes left. Johnson, by the way, has indeed responded. Last lap was a 14.8 compared to the 14.9 of Verity.
So Johnson still has a little bit of life left in those tires, if our assumption is right, that he did not take tires on that pit stop, able to pull it out. I think a little bit of it is that he was able to get a little bit of a draft from some of those lap cars in front of him, as right now he's going to be coming up on Paul Wildridge, Carl Bremillard, and Jean-Francois Mattei. That is Neil Alexander getting out of the way behind there of Stephen Verity. That's going to close things up just a little bit, gaps down to about 1/10, but now with the slipstream ahead, Johnston able to pull it out to a 1.5 seconds or thereabouts.
See, I wonder if it's the reverse. It's not the slipstream that helped him, but the traffic in laps prior. Wonder if that slowed him down and kept him from. And Matthew Hall, sorry, just went side by side with Gaillon through the hairpin. They themselves got caught out by traffic. Let's take another look at that. This could have been so much worse, but Hall had a great heads up in this situation. Watch this from above.
So there we see him diving down into turn 8, those 2 lap cars ahead of them. As you see here, Gaillon backing off a little bit. Hall's gonna get very aggressive here, trying to go around the outside, gets his nose in there, keeps the momentum going as Gaillon had to lock up, and Hall falls back a little bit, unable to get the power down when he needed to. But good heads-up driving there from both of them to avoid any sort of accident.
And as that was happening, Verity almost spun out of turn 6. The 04 has lost about 3 seconds now. The gap has increased to a point where Johnson can maybe start to relax a little bit.
We're going to jump back here to Gaillon and Hall, this being the closest battle really on track right now. Diving down into that right-hander. Hall not able to make the move here. Let's see what he can do through the hairpin. He's taken that wider line through Indy left, trying to do anything. Again, a wider line here that'll let him carry a little bit more speed. Tried to get the power down earlier, saw a little bit of a wiggle in the car, so not as perfect as he wants to, but he's only about 0.5 of a second behind Gaillon. I don't think he's going to be able to make the move work here unless he is super late on the brakes.
Don't have to go to it as there's a lot happening right here, but we had about 3 cars in an accident in turn 1, some of which are trying to limp around the track right now. Meanwhile, Gaillon desperately seems to want this top 5. Behind him, Hall trying to deny him. That's one of the limping cars right there. That was Neil Alexander, unfortunately, who was involved in the incident.
Good job there from Alexander. We've said it a lot of times tonight, but lots of heads-up driving from these guys to just stay out of the way of the leaders. It's one of the things that does make this series so spectacular is now they're coming on some more lap traffic. We're going to have to see how quickly Gaillon can dispatch it and how well Hall's going to be able to navigate it as well.
This is not a good place to catch it. Coming up to the hairpin, if Wildridge is significantly slower through here, then Guyon will find himself having to sacrifice his exit, maybe? No, he got a decent one. So I think Hall is not close enough to be able to attack here. He's about half a second behind as they pick up speed down Shoreline Drive. They're both going to get a tow from Wildridge, but it doesn't look like Wildridge is interested in letting them by that quickly. Oh, there he goes. Okay, now he's going to let them through.
Good spot to do that as well. Just really, really quick and easy, and it's not going to compromise Wildridge's lap all that too terribly much as we've had. Oh, sorry, that was way back in 21st. Did just a little bit of a kerfluffle. I thought that was Johnson. It was Wildridge and Adam Helm. The scheme was similar to Johnson's.
So is this Wildridge trying to return to the track or something here? What in the world?
Yeah, you can see it. He just gets off there, gets off into that access road, tries to come back onto the track here, trying to judge his re-entry just right. It's just kind of a bizarre incident. There's a
somebody
spinner
else
in front of him.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it was. Is he tried to judge it, and then you can see here that's Nunez. Then you could see here as Helm just comes through and gets collected.
Easy to get distracted down into that corner as our leader up at the front, Nick Johnson. I said he was pandering to the California crowd. Well, I guess the crowd has been cheering him on and giving him some extra pace from the emotional boost, because it is up to 5 seconds over Stephen Verity after starting this thing in second, falling all the way down to, I believe, 12th at his lowest. He is back up to P2. Everybody else's bad luck and errors have certainly helped him out as the race has progressed, but you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. And the AM Championship, Kyle Strykars leads that race, the 07, all the way up to 8th position. He qualified P13.
And Greg Seitz again, just having a little bit of fun, really showing his speed, putting in another fastest lap. This of a 14.257. Seitz is all the way down in 23rd place after that incident early on, but clearly one of the faster drivers on the track.
Closest battle in these remaining laps still continues to be for 5th place. The 808 of Guyon and the 911 of Matthew Hall. Ooh, actually, I think Hall's got his best chance of late. So let's see if he can do anything with this draft. Starts to pick up speed up to 150 miles an hour as they hit the braking zone. He's going to look to the inside. A half-hearted defense from Alex Guyon, but that's all he needs as Hall's not able to complete the pass. That was Jean-Francois who just pulled off in the number 218 to let the two of them through after seeing them battle.
Good move there again from Matei. I thought Hall had the speed. He goes super wide there. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths, but he is able to gather the car up underneath him. But I thought Hall could have had that there. Lots of good moves around from Guyon to really do that defense. A little bit of a Pruitt fade, come back to line, all within the rule books, but just very, very heads up, positioning his car into a way that Hall had no way by.
2 laps to go. Johnson just past the start-finish line. As we continue to watch this fight, I sometimes wonder how Scott Pruitt feels about that term being attached to his name for eternity now. I'd love someone who interviews him to be able to ask him that. Coming onto the front stretch, oh, and a mistake from Hall. Just cooked it a little bit too hard and had a heavy right foot out of the final turn.
We've seen now he is super, super quick through this technical first section, so he may be able to do it. Very wide line there from Guyon, not sure what he was doing. And that's kind of allowed Hall to catch back up, so that gap is now back down to about a half a tenth, even closer, only about a car's length in between them now. So this battle is far from over.
I have a feeling it's going to go all the way to the checkered flag. We only have 10 drivers left on the lead lap as we get ready to take the white flag just now. There's the in and out machine coming around the final hairpin as the flagman pulls out that white flag. Oh, and J.R. Williams just took to the escape road at the end of the backstretch.
And Hall got by Guyon. Brilliant move into turn 7.
We've got enough time to look at the replay of that, I think. Our leader still has quite a bit to go here on this last lap, so let's take a glance. Talk us through this. I completely missed this.
Yeah, he just gets by. There's lap traffic there. That slowed guy on the corner exit, and Hall just throws it onto the inside here. Absolutely gutsy move. Now or never. Great racing there from Matthew Hall.
Another spot where I know it's possible, but boy, is that rare. In the meantime, we back to our leader on to Pine Avenue and taking the right-hand swing onto Seaside Way. He's got 7 seconds over Verity. Despite taking new tires, Steven just does not have the pace to try and challenge the number 28. He didn't lead many laps, but he didn't need to lead many laps because all he needed to do was keep the car whole, keep the car safe, push hard, and he found himself inheriting that valuable P1 because victory in round 1 for the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series is going to be Nicholas Johnson.
Really, really amazing job from Johnson coming back from where he was. Stephen Verity now crossing the line to get that second place position. And now here we see J.R. Williams working his way around the hairpin to round out your podium positions. He just has to keep everything nice and steady here on the main straightaway, and he will cross the line for third. Despite
having a scare at the end, he did not lose a place. He stays in third. McLaughlin behind him in fourth. And Matthew Hall, a top 5 in spite of slapping the wall twice in 1 lap. That is an incredible drive from him. Guyon has to settle for 6th. Last car on the lead lap across the line going to be Olivier Legault, who's actually in a bit of a fight with Duhamel. So this is for position in P8. Yeah, let's head down to Duhamel. In fact, he's under threat because Legault is right on top of him. He's going to jink to the inside. Can he get the car woed up? Yes, he does. Legault gets the spot, slips through, and as he just has to hook it through the hairpin, well, last lap pass, that's him a spot. So nicely done by the 88 for P8. Let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Long Beach. This California track delivered a great season opener for the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series, in which Nick Johnson had his own sort of spin to win. He found himself in the escape road and then wound up recovering back to what looked like potentially a top 5, and then was handed the lead, which he never gave away after that. So Stephen Verity settled for second despite leading briefly himself. J.R. Williams finished in third, rounding out the podium with Owen McLaughlin in fourth. Matthew Hall, I'd love to know how much damage he had on the car after smacking the wall twice, and he still came home in fifth. Alex Guyon was 6th behind him, with Frank Nguyen in 7th. You've got Kyle Strykars in 8th, Olivier Legault in 9th, and Sean Duhamel in 10th.
Coming home in 11th at a lap down was Tyler Gore, followed by Brett Accord. Claude Remillard in 13th, followed by Takashi Kita, who started from the pit lane. So great run from Kita there. Lucio Vargas in 15th, followed by Donald Olson and Adam Helm. Paul Wildridge in 18th, Michael Broomhead 19th, and Greg Seitz, our pole sitter, suffering damage and ending the day in 20th.
21st is going to go to Barry Cochran with Jean-Francois Mattei. The last driver one lap down in 22nd. Then it's Matthew Gunderson in 23rd and Jacob Exton in 24th. Brian Hotham finished P25 with Dave Peterson in 26. First car 3 laps down was Adam Wright. Only lap 3 cars down is Adam Wright. And then David Menino, unfortunately, after qualifying third, has to settle for 28th. Brett Thurman, similarly from 5th to 29th. 30th goes David Hebert.
Bringing the car home 31st was Neil Alexander, followed by Jean-Francois Mattei, and then Matthew Gunderson, 2 laps down there in 30. Timing screens are getting a little wonky on me there. Sorry. Bart Cook in 32nd, followed by Sammy Bridges. Luis Gonzalez Nunez in 34th. Declan Eady in 35th. And these are the guys that did not able to finish the race. Julio Palacio, Daniel Barnett, Christopher Smorl, Eric LeBlanc, and Aaron Roos 40th.
Before we get to our overall winner, we've got our AM champion winner, and Kyle Strykar is finishing 8th overall. No mean feat there. And as we pull him into the booth, Kyle, congratulations on being the highest AM finisher. It looks like, much like with the leaders, very much a case of just keeping the car whole and pointed the right direction.
Yeah, I definitely had some close calls there. I think it was towards lap 20 or so. There was a lap car that spun out right on the exit of 1, and that almost ended my race, but it was definitely survival of the fittest for sure tonight. Just want to shout out and thank all the guys over at Speedworks Racing Team, Race Sim Tools, Racebox SimRacing, and Gomez Sim Industries.
So do you consider yourself a very viable possibility for our AM champion by the end of the year? Or do you think this is a sign of things to come?
Well, I really don't want to jinx myself, but I definitely think that I have a shot. I mean, all of us SRT guys, I think we're definitely going to be a force to reckon with in this series this season.
No doubt about that. The SRT team tends to be pretty quick here. So next round, we're heading to another very technical track at Barber. Think you could fit that one just as well?
Well, I hope so. Unfortunately, I haven't have any laps on that circuit yet, but going to get to practicing. I know we got a couple weeks off, so hopefully I can repeat what I did tonight and come home with another class win.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you. You'd like to thank for the victory here on the way out, and congratulations.
Like I said, all the guys over at Speedworks Racing Team Esport, we work really well together, push each other, and couldn't have done it without them.
That was our winner on the AM side. Meanwhile, DJ is caught up with our almost surprise victor here on the pro side with Nick Johnson.
Nick, you just stuck it in there and didn't make any mistakes, minus that one spin, but you were able to fight back on it. Talk us through an up and down race.
Yeah, the start was pretty crazy there. I wasn't expecting the leader to go right out of the hairpin, so I was already caught off guard from the very get-go and lost a few spots on cold tires, and it was so tough to pass. We kind of had a draft train going on where you couldn't get a big run to get by anyone, and I just got a little bit too deep into one, and I decided that there was a lot of race left, so I took the runoff, spun her back around, then had to work my way back through the field. And to my surprise, right about the pit stop area, a lot of the leaders had gotten caught up in incidents, and I was sitting in second. And I think I must have just taken less fuel than Stefan, or had a really good in-lap out-lap, because we performed the undercut of just about 4 seconds on him, and from there it was just keeping the nose clean.
Now, are we crazy? We thought here in the booth that it looked like you didn't take tires. Are we crazy about that, or are we right?
No tires. I figured I needed the shortest pit stop as possible, and there's only going to be like 10 to 11 laps left, and the tires are feeling good, so I decided to keep the old ones on, and it was a really quick pit stop, so maybe that's what did it. I'm not quite sure, but either way, it worked out for us in the end.
I certainly think it did. Nick, congratulations again, and anybody you need to thank on your way out tonight.
I just want to thank all my friends for watching. You guys for broadcasting this. You guys do a great job, and I appreciate it. Everyone at Precision Racing League for putting on such a great series. This is my first race with them, and I'm already impressed with the amount of talent and the amount of drivers they have out there. It's a crazy place, Long Beach, to have your first race of the season, but I think for the most part it went all right. And we get a few weeks off to go through the holidays, and we'll be back at Barber, I believe.
Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you. Thanks again and congrats. And now Joe, I believe, is with our second place finisher, Stefan Verity.
Steve, it unfortunately wasn't a win. About that pit stop, you took tires and Nick did not. Do you regret that decision, or do you feel like that was still the right call?
How you guys doing? I'm not really sure. I probably could have gotten away without tires, but that was the plan all along. I was surprised to see Nick, less than a second away on my Delta when I came out of the pits, and I ultimately couldn't chase him down.
Still, you kick things off with a podium, but what was going through your mind when you found yourself not only on that podium but leading the race?
Confusion mostly. Like there's a wreck in turn 1, you're trying to avoid it. Making sure I didn't pick up any damage. I hit the wall, I think, in turn 4, just because I was surprised. I don't know. It was just a chaotic race. Got a feel for some of the guys that were up front and couldn't finish the race, but I knew it was going to be it was just going to be a race of survival on a street track like this. So it was exciting. I'll take it for sure. And congrats to Nick.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, you kind of got to take them when they come, of course. So knowing that, I mean, do you think you can repeat this later in the season?
That's a good question. Maybe. I think if you do something long enough, you get lucky occasionally. I think my pace has improved, but I think it's possible. But I would expect guys like Greg and Declan to be up here more frequently than not.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. I certainly would like to get to talk to you more down the line. And again, congratulations on second.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.
And I am here in the booth with J.R. Williams. J.R., you really were able to survive a lot of carnage out there and get your way through the field. How was it out there?
Survive is the correct word. Yeah, it was rough. It looked like the people in front of me had even worse time than I did, and just tried to fight through it. And thankfully, I only tagged the wall one time very lightly and came away with a podium. So can't complain too much, I guess.
No, it's a good result. And obviously, we're going to be moving to some other tracks that aren't nearly as confining, namely Barber next week. How do you feel about the rest of the season?
I think the rest of the season will be a lot more interesting. There's a lot of fast guys in this series, and I didn't expect to be on a podium today. And especially even 2 of my teammates are incredibly fast that are in this, or 3 actually. But it was I think it's going to be a lot closer racing, a lot more interesting, and a lot less carnage.
Well, fantastic. We're looking forward to seeing it. I know that for sure. Anybody you need to thank before we let you go tonight?
Yeah, as always, I just want to thank my team, the SRTE eSport guys. They're amazing, and want to thank our sponsors, Racebox Sims and SimRacing Tools. They've been real supportive of us. So yeah, it's a great team.
All right. Well, thank you, JR, and congratulations again on 3rd place.
Yep, thank you.
That's going to do it for our interviews here at the end of the race. So we're going to close out with a big thank you to our sponsors. Of course, if you want to check out the Simulation Motorsports Affinity, they are found at SIMMSA.net. Or if you want to check out NinjaTrader, they are simply at NinjaTrader.com. And then if you want to see what butt kicker products could work for your sim rig, they are at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race, as we mentioned, is not going to be for a while. We got a holiday break after round 1. Thursday, January 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern will be the next one at Barber Motorsports Park. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, because up next, just now in a few minutes, the Lionheart Retro Series has their finale at Auto Club Speedway. That'll be at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.